All right, beautiful people. Top of the day to you. Top of the day, top of the day. Bring this up real quick. All right. Hold on. It is Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. All right, it is day 302. Y'all, we almost done. We is almost done. It is Monday, November the 15th, 2021, day 302 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 970. Yeah, today we're reading, let me start from the Psalms. Psalm 99, let's do to 103. Today we're going to read Psalm 99 to 103, and we're going to pick up where we left off at in Caesar's Messiah. Actually, we start in chapter 9 today on page 209. All right, so let's get started. Got to get rolling today, y'all. Start with the Shema. The Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 3. I'm sorry, I do that from time to time, not 3. Chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. Don't touch those games. All right, y'all. So let's hop on over here. Open your door. Why you open my door? Yeah.
Mom, you're taking the other cereal out.
That's fine. All right, beautiful people. Robert, shalom. Nikki, hey, girl, hey. All right, y'all. Psalm chapter 99. Yahuwah is king. Let the nations tremble. He sits on his throne between the cherubim. Let the whole earth quake. Yahuwah sits in majesty in Jerusalem, exalted above all the nations. Let them praise your great and awesome name. Holy is your name. Mighty King, lover of justice, you have established fairness. You have acted with justice and righteousness throughout Israel. Exalt Yahuwah our God. Bow low before his feet, for he is holy. Moses and Aaron were among his priests. Samuel also called on his name. They cried to Yahuwah for help, and he answered them. He spoke to Israel from a pillar of cloud, and they followed the laws and decrees he gave them. Yahuwah, our God, you answered them. You were a forgiving God to them, but you punished them when they went wrong. Exalted is Yahuwah, our God, and worship at his holy mountain in Jerusalem, for Yahuwah, our God, is holy. Gil, shalom, shalom. All right, y'all, Psalm 100. Do not touch those games. They sit in our room plugged in so they can charge, so they can be put up. When y'all get done eating, get in there and get that stuff up out that floor. Then pull yourself together so I can get started on the schoolwork. Psalm 100, a psalm of thanksgiving. Shout with joy to Yahuwah, all the earth. Worship Yahuwah with gladness. Come before him, singing with joy. Acknowledge that Yahuwah is God. He made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Go into his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For Yahuwah is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation. Next chapter. Shalom. Auntie Belinda Brown. Shalom. Shalom. Tiffany. Hey, girl. Hey. Psalm 101, a psalm of David. I will sing of your love and justice, Yah. I will praise you with songs. Be careful to live a blameless life. I'm sorry. Bella, where you going? To the dining room?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I will sing of your love and justice, Yahuwah. I will praise you with songs. I will be careful to live a blameless life. When will you come help me? I will lead a life of integrity in my own home. I will refuse to look at anything vile and vulgar. I hate all who deal crookedly. I will have nothing to do with them. I will reject perverse ideas and stay away from every evil. I will not tolerate people who slander their neighbors. I will not endure conceit and pride. I will search for faithful people to be my companions. Only those who are above reproach will be allowed to serve me. I will not allow deceivers to serve in my house, and liars will not stay in my presence. My daily task will be to ferret out the wicked and free the city of Yahuwah from their grip. Christy, shalom, shalom. Next chapter, Psalm 102. A prayer of one overwhelmed with trouble, pouring out problems before Yahuwah. Yahuwah, hear my prayer. Listen to my plea. Don't turn away from me in my time of distress. Bend down to listen and answer me quickly when I call to you. For my days disappear like smoke, and my bones burn like red hot coals. My heart is sick, withered like grass, and I have lost my appetite. Because of my groaning, I am reduced to skin and bones. I am like an owl in the desert, like a little owl in a far off wilderness. I lie awake, lonely as a solitary bird on the roof. My enemies taunt me day after day. They mock and curse me. I eat ashes for food. My tears run down into my drink because of your anger and wrath. For you have picked me up and thrown me out. My life passes as swiftly as the evening shadows. I am withering away like grass. But you, O Yah, will sit on your throne forever. Your fame will endure to every generation. You will arise and have mercy on Jerusalem. And now is the time to pity her. Now is the time you promised to help. For your people love every stone in her walls and cherish even the dust in her streets. Then the nations will tremble before Yahuwah. The kings of the earth will tremble before his glory. For Yahuwah will rebuild Jerusalem. He will appear in his glory. He will listen to the prayers of the destitute. He will not reject their pleas. Let this be recorded for future generations, so that a people not yet born will praise Yahuwah. Tell them Yahuwah looked down from his heavenly sanctuary. He looked down to earth from heaven to hear the groans of the prisoners, to release those condemned to die. And so Yahuwah's fame will be celebrated in Zion. And praises, I'm sorry. And so Yahuwah's fame will be celebrated in Zion, his praises in Jerusalem, when multitudes gather together and kingdoms come to worship Yahuwah. He broke my strength in midlife, cutting my days short, but I cried to him, "Oh my God, who lives forever, don't take my life while I'm so young." Long ago, you laid the foundation of the earth. You made the heavens with your hands. They will perish, but you remain forever. They will wear out like old clothing. You will change them like a garment and discard them, but you are always the same. You will live forever. The children of your people will live in security. Their children's children will thrive in your presence. All right, beautiful people. Last chapter for today, Psalm 103. It is also a psalm of David. Trina, hey girl, hey. Let all that I am praise Yahuwah. With my whole heart, I will praise his holy name. Let all that I am praise Yahuwah. May I never forget the good things he does for me. He forgives all my sins and heals all my diseases. He redeems me from death and crowns me with love and tender mercies. He fills my life with good things. My youth is renewed like the eagles. Yahuwah gives righteousness and justice to all who are treated unfairly. He revealed his character to Moses and his deeds to the people of Israel. Yahuwah is compassionate and merciful, slow to get angry, and filled with unfailing love. He will not constantly accuse us, nor remain angry forever. He does not punish us for all our sins. He does not deal harshly with us as we deserve. For his unfailing love towards those who fear him is as great as the height of the heavens above the earth. He has removed our sins as far from us as the east is from the west. Yahuwah is like a father to his children, tender and compassionate to those who fear him. For he knows how weak we are. He remembers we are only dust. Our days on earth are like grass, like wildflowers. We bloom and die. The wind blows and we are gone, as though we had never been here. But the love of Yahuwah remains forever with those who fear him. His salvation extends to the children's children of those who are faithful to his covenant, of those who obey his commandments. Yahuwah has made the heavens his throne. From there he rules over everything. Praise Yahuwah, you angels, you mighty ones who carry out his plans, listening for each of his commands. Yes, praise Yahuwah, you armies of angels who serve him and do his will. Praise Yahuwah, everything he has created, everything in all his kingdom. Let all that I am praise Yahuwah. Hallelujah. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. All right, so let's go ahead and get started over here. In Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, chapter 9. 1 second, y'all. Hold on. Isaiah! Isaiah! Okay, y'all. Left something out. Okay. Were you making that? Because I just put that back in the refrigerator. All right, y'all. Chapter 9. Anybody had a chance to go back and watch Hamlet? Anybody care to go watch it? You don't care, just still for the reading. You ain't watching a long black and white movie. That's fine. I'm just wondering. Just seeing who did, who didn't. All right, y'all. It's not required, but I'm just saying you may get a little more out of it, while I'm reading. Okay. The Merchant of Venus is a chapter of the title of chapter 9. Norman Rabkin uses The Merchant of Venus as his first example of the problem of meaning in Shakespeare, complaining that, quote, for all of its virtues, much of the best criticism leaves us with the sense that it has somehow failed to come to grips with, or has even in some way denied the existence of essential qualities of the play, end quote. That's reference 83 in the back. While Rabkin also cautions against self-aggrandizing, critics who believe, self-aggrandize, okay, let's start over. While Rabkin also cautions against self-aggrandizing critics who believe they must possess the key that everyone else has missed, the secret hidden from all previous critics and scholars, end quote, reference 84. I hope the reader will recognize that the Flavian comic system represents exactly the hidden key that is needed. To begin to make sense of the play, one must start by trying to understand how the author is representing Jews. As shown above, Marlow in The Jew of Malta, one of the plays that The Merchant of Venus was loosely based upon, placed Jews into three categories: those who refused conversion, those who truly converted to Christianity, and those who pretended to have converted to Christianity. Also, The Jew of Malta, if you haven't seen that, I put a link for that in there. I think I put a link for the Merchant of Venus in there. I don't remember, but I'm going to check it, right? I'm going to check it. And if not, I'll go back in and put it in there. But I think I did the last time I updated. But I know I copied and pasted in my notes, but I need to make sure that I added it. If I didn't add it to the previous videos, I'll start adding it today. So, okay. Mom, shalom, shalom. Okay. As shown above, Marlow in The Jew of Malta, one of the plays that The Merchant of Venus was loosely based upon, placed Jews into three categories: those who refused conversion, those who truly converted to Christianity, and those who pretended to have converted to Christianity. In The Merchant of Venus, the playwright repeats Marlow and makes the same three distinctions. Antonio is an ex-Jew who has made a heartfelt conversion to Christianity, reference 85. His conversion is the source of Shylock's deep grudge against him because he has abandoned their religion, which his daughter Jessica will also do. This is the reason why Shylock refers to Antonio as a prodigal, because he has left the religion of Israel for the luxuries and non-kosher food of the Gentiles. Shylock also highlights Antonio's turncoat nature by calling him a fawning publican or tax gatherer, linking Antonio to those Jews who served the Romans as tax gatherers, like the Apostle Matthew. The character Bassanio is a kinsman to Antonio, Act 1, Scene 1, line 57, and thus also of Jewish ethnicity. However, he never says or does anything that would indicate that his adoption of Christianity is anything other than a sham for public consumption. His name indicates that he is from the Bassano family, that is, Emilia's Jewish family that immigrated to England from the exact area near Venice where the play is set. The register of births and deaths for the church in which many of them were buried has the spelling of their name as Bassanio. They were presumably crypto Jews who were baptized as Christians but practiced Judaism in secret. Thus, this would be the type of Jew the character Bassanio represents. In the play, Bassanio is referred to as a scholar and a soldier, Act 1, Scene 2, line 113, which would appear to be a self designation by Amelia Bassano of herself and her family. She saw her family as warriors of Judaism, still carrying on the fight against the Gentiles, Will Shakespeare. And she spaced all that apart. Shylock is a traditional Hebrew who will talk and walk and engage in commerce with Christians, but will not eat, drink, or pray with anyone except religious Jews for fear of breaking the law of Kashrus. Kashrus. Yeah, I may have pronounced that wrong. Kashrus. Kashrus. That's my first time hearing that word. Maybe it comes from kosher laws. I don't know. I ain't studied that, so belay my last. He keeps a sober house. Act two, scene. I'm sorry. Yeah, Act 2, Scene 5, line 36. That flippery does not enter. Okay. He keeps a sober house that flippery does not enter. In Pauline theology, or like the Apostle Paul's theology, okay. In Pauline theology, he represents the old man who Paul wanted the Jews to cast off. In Venice, unlike in England at the time, it is still legal, albeit dangerous, to be openly Jewish. He lends money to Christians, usury being legal in Elizabethan England since 1571, but he is treated badly by the Jew who converted to Christianity. Antonio, who spits at him, calls him misbeliever and dog. Antonio even rejects his humanity, stating that he has no sense, passions, or affections. Shylock is not even called by his name, but is referred to only as the Jew. As a convert Jew himself, Bassanio treats Shylock with a quiet respect that seems kind by comparison, but Bassanio's companion Gratiano tells Shylock, quote, "Oh, be thou damned, inexcredible dog, and for thy life let justice be accused. Thou almost makest me waver in my faith to hold opinion with Pythagoras, that souls of animals infuse themselves into the trunks of men. Thy curious spirit governed a wolf who hanged for human slaughter. Even from the gallows did his fell soul fleet. And whilst thou layest in thy unhallowed dam, infused itself in thee, for thy desires are wolvish, bloody, starved, and ravenous. End quote. That's Act 4, Scene 1, line 138 through line 148. This passage is often taken as a reference to Rodrigo Lopez, a Portuguese physician and affiliate of Don Antonio, a pretender to be a pretender to the Portuguese throne, who was widely believed to be a crypto Jew and who had risen to become Queen Elizabeth's personal physician. He was accused of conspiring with the Spanish to poison the queen and was hung in 1594. Emilia may well have been inspired to write Merchant of Venus as a timely response to these events, and the reference to a wolf's spirit above may have been a pun on Lopez's name. In Latin is lupus, and that's reference 86. However, as I hope will be clear to the reader, there is far more going on in the play than a simple allegory of the Lopez incident. As Stephen Marks noted, the play contains more biblical allusions than any other of Shakespeare's plays, and in some ways is parallel to Paul's letter to the Romans, which also dealt with the same issue of Christian-Jewish relationships, reference 87. In that letter, Paul, continuing the satire in the Gospels, sought to turn Jews into Christians who would take communion and eat the body and blood of Christ. And if y'all don't forget what they say, it will probably do you good. And I don't recommend all the time that you go on and make a meal of the New Testament, at least not anymore. But just to refresh you on what's being done, and now that we can kind of see this in a light of what these stories, the setting it was really written in, go back now and read some of the things that Paul wrote, right? You know how long it took me to say out loud? I was even look. Me and my sister had been talking about it. We was even scared to say something to our mama. I was like, Leisha, I said, I'm taking issue with Paul right now. Now, Paul used to be my dude, right? I'm like, yeah, Paul. Paul said to Paul, you know, I'm like Paul, right? Until I start really digging into this, and I'm like, wait a minute, Paul, what you just said? Hold on, and I talked to my sister. She said, "Girl, I'm glad you said something." She said, "Cause you get hung coming against Paul in the Christian world, even in the Hebrew/Jewish too." I'm like, "Oh shoot, something's going on here." I was like, "Look, should we tell Mama?" And I was like, Leisha was like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say something. See what she say." I'm like, Leisha, I'm a little bit more. Let's say I can kind of, I can say, I can say something in a little bit of softer tone. I guess you want to say a little bit softer tone to kind of make you think. To whereas my sister, she just gonna boom, throw it out there and watch for your reaction. And if she don't get the reaction that she think you probably should have gave by being shocked, she gonna say it again. She just gonna drop it on you again. Then she gonna ask, did you hear what I just said? Think about it, right? So, but yeah, when you go back, when you understand how the Gospels were written and who wrote them and what it really is, you might start having some questions for Paul. That's why I'm like, Paul with them shenanigans. I was like, I don't trust Paul anymore, right? I was like, Paul was slick. He they used the right guy. They used the right guy in the story back here because he was well versed in the law, right? He was so well versed that by him explaining some things, it's like Paul pulled a lot of Jedi mind tricks, right? And it was really, really easy to be tripped up by what Paul said. And you believe, oh, yeah, what he said was right. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Clearly, you're ignorant of the law or you're not paying attention to what he said, right? Okay, that's just my little 2 cents on Paul. I ain't going to get with it because some people be ready to fight me over Paul. Like, you ready to fight me over Paul before you ready to fight me over Jesus. I'm like, I don't care. I'll fight you over both of them, but because I'm trying to wake you up. But it's crazy how some people are, you supposed, in Christianity, they're supposed to be following Jesus, right? But then don't you say nothing bad about Paul, because they'll fight you over Paul before they fight you over Jesus, right? If they real steeped in Paul's writings. But if they more steeped in Jesus and all of that stuff, they be ready to fight you at the drop of a hat when you say something bad about Jesus. Not that we say nothing bad about him, we're just trying to wake y'all up, but like, pay attention to what y'all reading, right? So, okay. It would do you good to go back and reread some of this stuff so you can see, like, oh, Paul, use a shiesty character. Listen, let's start this over. As Stephen Marks noted, the play contains more biblical allusions than any other of Shakespeare's plays, and in some ways is parallel to Paul's letter to the Romans, which also dealt with the same issue of Christian-Jewish relationships, reference 87. In that letter, Paul, continuing the satire in the Gospels, sought to turn Jews into Christians who would take communion and eat the body and blood of Christ. The author of The Merchant of Venus was aware of the Roman literary satire, and the play was written, like all of Shakespearean plays, to reverse the satire. Titus, who had become the final Jesus. Oh, let me say something just in case you still didn't quite get. Okay, using this same reference up here, where he was saying where Paul sought to turn Jews into Christians who would take communion and eat the body and the blood of Christ, you would know something is wrong if you spend enough time studying the Torah, because what he was trying to get them to do goes directly against what Yahuwah told us not to do. Yahuwah said what, right? He said, Yahuwah has this thing about blood. He said, just don't, right? He said, because it defiles you. To whereas when you get into the New Testament, the New Testament, if you're paying attention, it teaches you that the blood cleanses you. It goes directly against what Yahuwah said. You go back and read through the Old Testament constantly. Yahuwah said the blood defiles, right? New Testament, oh, the blood cleanses. Wash me in the blood of Christ. And also I'm like, blasphemy. Like I wanted to throw up. And then not only that, they want to wash you in the blood. They also want you to drink it. Granted, it's wine and stuff, but you acting like, right? You ain't even supposed to act like, not even for play, right? Because we read it every day in the Shema, right? What things are we to ponder upon and keep in our heart, right? It ain't the words of Christ, it's the words of Yah. It ain't the words of Paul, it's the words of Yah. What is truth? Oh Yah, your Torah is truth, right? The words of Yah. What's the foundation of everything? It's the word of Yah, his commands, right? If anything goes against his commands, I don't care who you are, what your title is. I don't care if you are Jesus the Christ. If what you said is going against what Yahuwah said, I know that sound like blasphemy to some people. Unsubscribe to her. She going to hell. Okay. Well, you won't see me there when you get there. No. Listen. If it goes against what Yahuwah said and it breaks his commands, you should be asking questions, right? You should be asking questions. Yahuwah said, don't. Do not drink blood, it defiles. He even talks to married couples. Christina, you hilarious. Yahuwah even talks to married couples, right? Even when the wife is on her cycle, and even if they engage in intimacy and even when they get done, they realize, oh my gosh, you came on your cycle. He said they're both defiled, right? And you got to go through the ritual cleansing process and all that, right? Because we are not to consume blood. We're not to wash ourselves in blood. There were very, very strict rules and regulations against the consumption and the uses of blood, right? Also, that would be a lot more clear, and you will understand it a whole lot better if you knew what was happening on the other side with people groups who were worshiping other gods. Blood rituals is their number one thing. They drink blood. They engage in sex with blood with women on their menstrual cycles. How do I know that? I read some of those manuals, right? And if you go and you read them side by side, you would see, oh snap, it would be a whole lot more clear what Yahuwah was saying. Now you should be able to just take Yahuwah at his word when he say, look, don't do this. Then you should, okay, don't do it. But some people's like, well, why we can't do it? Now that you can't ask questions about it, the material is out there. I don't recommend that you go looking for it, because you will find it in groups like Satan worshipers and some of the new age stuff. All that stuff is there. In my research, going through all this stuff, just verifying that I wasn't crazy and Paul trying to lead you astray, I came across some of these things and I didn't keep them. Some of them I kept because there's some things in there, like I mentioned a few of them early on, just like all the way in Genesis. Some of those things in Genesis make sense if you understand what was going on with Lamech and them, and on the other end, and Cain, and how people say, well, who's all these other people? There certainly was other people. It wasn't just Adam and Eve and they two boys. There were other people, and those manuscripts give detail of what was going on. That's how when Cain went over into the land of Nod, there were people there. See, all that stuff wasn't canonized with the Bible, y'all, but it's there. And some of the things that don't make sense over here, it makes complete sense when you put it together with everything that was going on during that time. I'm telling y'all. Now, everything, I don't agree with everything that's in the Bible, but you can find, because, and I say that because there were things that were added, things that were taken away, and shenanigans, they redid stuff. But there is truth. You can find the Torah within the Old Testament. There's stuff added to that too. But if you read it enough, and as you begin to study, Yahuwah will illuminate and separate truth from error. Yes, sit it down. That's fine. You will be able to separate truth from error and begin to pick things out. Okay, so back to what I was saying about Paul. When you hear Paul in the New Testament talking about communion, and y'all, when I found this out, I was about at tears. I was almost devastated because I really thought, I was like, communion is, yes, it's a thing we're supposed to be doing, you know, and if you don't do it, if you take it and you don't understand, you cause a curse to come on yourself and all that stuff. So I was real particular about communion, and I would make sure, okay, kids, you can't take this unless you understand. So let's go through. And now that I do this, I'm like, I was indoctrinating my children to do a freaking blood ritual, not even realizing. I'm like I was about devastated, y'all. And I repent, I was like, oh my gosh, I taught my children how to do this. I didn't know. I was like, Father, if I knew. And I realized that just by constantly reading through the Torah over and over and realizing, wait a minute, this ain't adding up. Something's wrong, right? Yahuwah says, stay away from the blood. It defiles. Yahuwah says, water washes, water cleanses, right? His spirit, not a separate spirit. Because some people, when they think the Holy Spirit, they think it's a separate entity. When the Holy Spirit is Yahuwah's spirit, it's Yahuwah himself. It's Yahuwah. It's not a separate entity from Yahuwah. It's Yahuwah. When you say, oh, the Holy Spirit is Yahuwah. It is him, right? So it's not a separate entity talking to you. It is him talking to you. And we can refer to him as the Holy Spirit, right? But I stopped using that a lot. Not that it's wrong, but I don't want to confuse people, especially people that's really trying to understand it. It's Yahuwah. I'm like, oh, thank you, y'all. I realized, because I used to think multiple characters going on, and it's Yahuwah was like, it's been me all the time. I was like, oh snap, for real? I've been calling you. You ain't know. I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad you much more forgiving than people are, because people ready to crucify you. She is speaking heresy and damnation. Don't go near her. I'm like, man, people just half listen, right? Okay. I'll go back here. So that's what Paul was doing. And if you're not familiar with Torah, Paul will take you. He will literally take you, and you will think it's truth, especially if the New Testament is the only thing you read, right? So you have to be really, really careful. And it's a lot of that, and it trips people up, and they can't seem to let it go. So, but yeah, so that's what I want to say about that. That's a great example about things. If we don't understand, it'll take us, and we'll teach doctrines, and it'll be a whole thing, and people live with this, and they reteaching, and it's error, just passing erroneous doctrine down generation after generation. And when we come be like, excuse me, can I ask a question? It's like, no, Get her out of here. You better not say, it's like, are y'all really reading? Okay, let me go back. In that letter, Paul, continuing the satire in the Gospels, sought to turn Jews into Christians who would take communion and eat the body and blood of Christ. The author of The Merchant of Venus was aware of the Roman literary satire, and the play was written, like all of the Shakespearean plays, to reverse the satires. To reverse the satire. Titus, who had become the final Jesus depicted in the Gospels, is satirized in The Merchant of Venus with the character of the clown, Lancelot Gobbo, a servant to Shylock. The name Gobbo is a play on gobbet, meaning a mouthful of flesh, and Shylock refers to him as a huge feeder. Act 2, Scene 5, line 46. The character that plays Lancelot's father, a satire of Vespasian, suffers the fate he intended for the Jews. He cannot recognize his royal son and is even unsure that they dwell together. Lancelot has to explain to his father that he is your boy that was, your son that is, and your child that shall be. Act 2, Scene 2, line 84 through 86. This is a parody on the Hebrew Bible's passage that provides the name of God and which was the basis of the description of Jesus as the same yesterday and today and forever, which is found in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8. How would we do a ritual cleansing in today's time? Let me make sure I understand what you're asking me. What type of ritual cleansing? Like just to cleanse yourself from all the foolishness? I say keep it simple. Now, when I did, I just I just like, Father, as an outward sign, I'm just gonna go take a shower. I don't know. I didn't have to do that, but I just took a shower, like to as a what's the word um as I guess as an outward show that I'm taking this serious. Not that I had to do that. It's almost like baptism. It's like an outward show to show. So I just like shower. And I just I literally soak myself up and wash my hair and everything, right? As an outward show. Nobody else saw that but y'all, you know, as an outward show that I was cleansing myself from all the improper teaching and doctrine and all those things. So something like that. That was my personal thing, you know. Whatever it is you do, that's between you and Yah, and I believe he'll accept it the same. If your heart is right, that's something personal between you and him anyway. Whether you take a shower or you just pray and just I don't know, so that's what I would say. That's just me, right? I just like to keep it simple, right? I don't believe you who makes us jump through loops and hoops and all these things is you get what I'm saying. Okay. The fact that Lancelot is a parody of Titus/Jesus explains his desire to serve the Jew, as he says, the short and the long is, I serve the Jew. Act 2, Scene 2, line 127. The nature of Gabbo's service to the Jews is not difficult to grasp. Someone whose name is Gabbo and who is a huge feeder must be a send up of Titus's desire to serve himself to those Jews who convert to the false Judaism and eat the communion bread. In the passage below, Gobbo seeks directions from his son. As a clown, Lancelot always misunderstands what is said to him, and he hears not, quote, which is the way to master Jews, but rather, quote, which is the way to master Jews, end quote. Okay. So they said the same thing, but if you actually have the book, you will see that master is capitalized in the first one and it's not made capital in the second one, which changes the what the question is asking. Okay. So which way to master Jews, like the masters, right? I think that's what it is. Which way to master Jews, like a name. Yeah, like a name, but rather this is hold on. Let me read this again so I don't confuse myself. Okay. In the passage below, Gabo seeks directions from his son. As a clown, Lancelot always misunderstands what is said to him, and he hears not which way, which is the way to master Jews, but rather he hears which is the way to master Jews. Like the master Jew, right? He said, which way to the master Jew? But he heard which way to master the Jews. Like, how do we gain control over them, right? So he was hearing it wrong. Although it's saying the same thing, he's hearing it wrong. He's understanding it wrong. I'll read it again. In the passage below, Gobbo seeks directions from his son. As a clown, Lancelot always misunderstands what is said to him, and he hears not which is the way to master Jews, but rather he hears which is the way to master Jews. But of course, since the character Lancelot depicts Titus Flavius, this mistake was quite natural. Mastering Jews was Titus's obsession. The answer Lancelot gives is not a comic misdirection, therefore, but rather an instruction on how to arrange one's hands to pray. In other words, the best way to master the Jews is by turning them into worshiping Christians. Note also, in the following dialogue, that Gobbo has become the true begotten Father, just as Jesus was called the only begotten Son. Quote in this conversation going back and forth between Gobbo and Lancelot. Gobbo, Master, young man, you, I pray you, which is the way to master Jews? Lancelot, aside, O heavens, this is my true begotten Father, who being more than sand blind, high gravel blind, knows me not. I will try confusions with him. Gobbo, master, young gentleman, I pray you, which is the way to master Jews? Lancelot, turn up on your right hand at the next turning, but at the next turning of all on your left. Mary, at the very next turning, turn of no hand, but turn down indirectly into the Jew's house. Gobbo, by God's sanities, 'twill be a hard way to hit. But by God's sanities, 'twill be a hard way to hit. Okay, yes, clearly he don't understand what he's saying. He thinking he asking him to give him directions to the master's house, but he's asking him, how do you master Jews? Which is why he said, boy, that'd be a hard way to hit. Like you take your hand down here, then you put it right here, then bring it all the way up. He said, that'd be a hard way to hit. The conversation is foolish. That's found in Act 2, Scene 2, line 33 to 45. By mutual agreement, Lancelot has given up on his service to Shylock, who dismissed Lancelot as a lazy patch. For his part, recognizing that all attempts to serve Flavian Christianity to rabbinical Jews have become utterly hopeless, Lancelot laughably goes to peddle his wares to Bassanio, the crypto Jew, instead. Father Gobbo brings along a dish of doves that I would bestow on your worship. That's Act 2, Scene 2, line 135 through 136. However, this renewed effort to sell Jesus' flesh is obviously a futile burlesque, although Lancelot does make an effort to integrate himself with Jessica, his most likely customer. Antonio describes himself as a blemished lamb, which indicates he is also a type for the Gentile Messiah. As the play opens, Antonio is filled with sadness, apparently because his beloved Bassanio is leaving him to court the beautiful Queen Portia of Belmont. In the 2005 version of The Merchant of Venus, produced by Barry Navidi, this love of Bassanio and Antonio is portrayed as discreetly homosexual, reference 88. Because of his love for Bassanio, Antonio is willing to pledge his pound of flesh as a security for a loan to fund Bassanio's courtship of Portia. Shylock is delighted to lend funds for this purpose, not only because of the opportunity for revenge against Antonio, but also because if Bassanio succeeds in marrying Portia, he will graft his Jewish lineage into the Gentile royalty. Queen Portia has much in common with Queen Elizabeth, reference 89. Like Elizabeth, Portia is a beautiful young blonde who is besieged by suitors from royal families all over the world, but she cannot freely make her choice among them because of her dead father's will. Portia is highly educated, knowing many languages and skilled in the arts of rhetoric, but to her, let me start again. Portia is highly educated, knowing many languages, and skilled in the arts of rhetoric, but to practice her skills in Venus, she must disguise herself as a man. Elizabeth also often boasted of her masculine aspect, most notably in her Tilbury speech, where she proclaimed, quote, I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too, end quote. That's reference 90. However, unlike Elizabeth, who never married, Portia is smitten with love for the gallant Bassanio, who nevertheless must run the gauntlet to set up, who nevertheless must run the gauntlet set up by Portia's father, just like all the other suitors. Portia's likeness has been hidden in one of the three caskets, one gold, one silver, and one lead. And Bassanio must guess which one. Portia overtly acquiesces to her father's prohibition on giving Bassanio any clues, but her speech is laced with L sounds, and her court musicians sang a song whose lines rhyme with lead, and whose surface narrative complains of the brevity of love based on appearances.
Mommy,
Yes.
you help me.
Bassanio gets the hint and correctly chooses the lead casket. Thus, Portia is a willing, indeed eager, accomplice in the crypto Jewish conspiracy to invert the Flavian root and branch theme. Time passes quickly, and word comes from Venus that Antonio's ships have foundered, and Shylock wants to collect his pound of flesh. The validity of the bond is to be tried before the Duke in a crucial scene that parallels Jesus' trial in the Gospels. Bassanio and his entourage travel from Belmont to advocate for their friend Anthony, and Portia also secretly travels to the trial after sending a message to her cousin, Dr. Bellerio, a legal expert. To emphasize that the play is operating within the context of the New Testament, Lancelot warns Jessica, quote, the sins of the father are to be laid upon the children, end quote. And that's Act 3, Scene 5, Line 1. He is restating the request of the Jewish mob that called for the death of Jesus in Matthew chapter 27, verse 25. Quote, his blood be on us and on our children, end quote. At the trial, Shylock reinforces this, saying, quote, my deeds upon my head, end quote. Act 4, Scene 1, line 206. However, in this case, the people clamoring for violence are not Jews but Gentiles, and Shylock ironically does not accept responsibility for the deeds of his ancestors, but only his own. Very subtly, the playwright is suggesting that the curse on the Jews, hold on. Very subtly, the playwright is suggesting that the curse on the Jews that was cast in Jesus' trial is being reversed from the Jews to the Gentiles. Portia has obtained a message from Dr. Bellerio authorizing her, in the guise of Balthazar, a young man, to give a legal opinion for the Duke in Shylock's case. She determines that the bond is valid and that Shylock may rightfully take his pound of flesh from Anthony's breast. Shylock praises Balthazar as another Daniel. Hold on. Okay. Shylock praises Balthazar as another Daniel. Balthazar is, as mentioned above, another name for Daniel. in the Old Testament. Daniel in the Old Testament, y'all. If y'all weren't here for that. And delights in the prospect of collecting his revenge. As Shylock's knife is poised over Anthony's heart, Bassanio dramatically proclaims his great love for Anthony and that he would gladly sacrifice not only his own life but that of his new wife as well, if only he could save Anthony from the devil, that is, the Jew. Portia, as Balthazar, humorously notices that, quote, your wife would give you a little thanks for that if she were by to hear you make that offer, end quote. Act 4, Scene 1, line 288 through 289. Nevertheless, Portia, perhaps moved by her husband's wish, or perhaps in accordance with a carefully laid plan, warns Shylock that he is entitled to his pound of flesh, but not to any blood, and that if he sheds a drop of Christian blood, all his goods are forfeit, and that all his goods are forfeit to the Venetian state. Shylock asks, "Is that the law?" And Portia tells him that it is so. This is the crucial moment for the entire Shakespearean campaign of vengeance by pruning, that is, murder and mayhem and cannibalization of the Gentiles. One can easily imagine that the Aaron of Titus Andronicus would have seized the moment's opportunity to extract Anthony's heart, bake it into a pie, and serve it at Jessica's wedding while laughing heartily all the way to the gallows. However, Shylock stops abruptly and relinquishes his claim because he suddenly comes to his senses and realizes that Portia is correct. Murder, even for vengeance, is against the Ten Commandments, which apply to the Jews as much as to the Gentiles. My conjecture is that perhaps the conviction of Dr. Lopez on charges of conspiring to murder the Queen had similarly been a defining moment for Emilia Bassano. Indeed, if there had ever been any real-life conspiracy of revenge against Gentile royalty, and the evidence presented at trial, including Lopez's testimony, albeit extracted under torture, suggests that there was, then the entire crypto-Jewish community would likely have been aware of the plot. If this was the case, then the insertion of the child into the Gentiles' royal lineage described in Titus Andronicus, described above, was not metaphorical, but a description of a real plan. Let's see, we have 52 minutes. We're not going to finish this today. Yeah. Like I said yesterday, it's going to take 2 days. Yeah. We're going to pause this probably here before this conversation go back and forth between Lorenzo and Jessica. All right. However, these facts may be unlike Queen Elizabeth and Lopez's case. Portia insisted on inflicting the maximum punishment on Shylock, even though his murderous intent had been thwarted and indeed abandoned. For his crime, all of Shylock's possessions are forfeited, and he is to be hanged. However, Anthony and the Duke agree that if Shylock signs a deed of gift and becomes a Christian, he will receive immunity from hanging, a halter gratias, and half of his possessions, instead of going to the state, can be passed on to his daughter Jessica and son-in-law Lorenzo. Portia assigns her clerk to draw up this deed, and Shylock agrees that he will sign it. At this point, Shylock exits. Act 4, Scene 1, line 359. At this point, Shylock exits and is not seen again, but at the end of the play, he sends a special deed of gift that gives all he dies possessed of to his daughter and her Gentile husband. Act 5, Scene 1, line 293. The playwright leaves it to the audience to make the determination as to what Shylock has done off stage and what exactly he has left to his heirs. Since this play uses the word choice, or its derivatives over 40 times, it is appropriate that the audience is presented with a choice as to how Shylock responded. The surface narration suggests that Shylock decided that he loved his daughter, so he has converted to Christianity and signed the deed of gift that allowed her to inherit his wealth. This interpretation is unsatisfying because it has no relation to several of the major themes of the play, particularly the treatment of Shylock by his daughter. Shylock has promised to sign the deed, but he has not made any promise to convert to Christianity, which is a necessity to give any effect to his signature. What Shylock actually did can be determined by the facts presented in the play. We know that Shylock was strongly committed to Judaism and that he did not like Christian fools. Act 2, Scene 5, line 33. Kind of forced his hand like the lady he was telling us about with the COVID shot. That's exactly what this is. This is exactly what this is. Shayla, hey girl, hey. Did I have to say hey? I may have. I just looked up and saw your name. But yeah, let me tell y'all something. If y'all start, if y'all do more research, you will see how cunning the Gentiles were in getting the Hebrews to convert to Christianity. Right there, I mean, this is nothing new. This was constantly going on. This is a real thing. Either you convert to Christianity or you die. Right. And then most of the parents, most of the okay, so there were men, women, and children, right? Of course, boys and girls. But most of the parents that they threatened, they chose death over conversion to Christianity, right? So what did they do? They took all their children, they separated the parents from the children because the children are very impressionable. And they took them and they put them into homes of already Christian families, of those who had already converted, so that they would raise them up in Christian ways, i.e., which is where we come from. We're the descendants of those children who were taken and put into this religion, right? The parents who were completely sold out to y'all, not that they were perfect, because they were still committing shenanigans. And we know we tripping, but you ain't gonna make us. You ain't, if we want to serve other gods on our own, we can do that. But you ain't gonna make us serve another god. No. And then they snap back to they right mind, like, no, we only serve y'all. Yeah, but y'all was just Molech. You remember Molech? You was just, oh damn, you got a problem with Jesus, but it's one of those type of things, right? So most of the parents chose death. They refused to convert to Christianity. They said they were absolutely not. So they took the children and they broke the children into Christianity, and the children grew up Christian, and they began to teach their children. It's just a vicious cycle, right? And that's the cycle we're trying to break ourselves out of, remembering why our parents actually chose to die rather than to convert to Christianity, right? Because it will violate the laws of Yah, and then you damn yourself either way, right? So okay, what Shylock actually did can be determined by the facts presented in the play. We know that Shylock was strongly committed to Judaism and that he did not like Christian fools. Act 2, Scene 5, line 33. We also know that the role of Jessica is a troubled and troubling one. Jessica stole her father's ducats and used them for a spending spree. She has even stolen his turquoise wedding ring and traded it for a monkey. She was ashamed to be his daughter, married a Gentile, and has changed her religion to Christianity. We know that Shylock thinks that his daughter is damned. Act 3, Scene 1, line 26. Jessica has broken away, her very name being a reference to the strap, or Jess, Jess, that normally kept a falcon safe on its master's arm. Even as she was fledged and ready to leave home and get married, Act 3, Scene 1, line 24, this was no way to have done it. She is described as a thief who slandered her love. Act 4, Scene 2, line 15. And we're going to pause right here. But I am going to reread this. I'm going to come back. And I'm going to reread this part. And then it'll flow right into this this conversation between Lorenzo and Jessica. So I'm going to make my mark. And we're going to come back. I'll reread. Okay, I'll start right here. We'll reread, start from here. But this is what we actually pause. Okay, y'all. That way, I don't break the story up, but we got to break it up because we're already an hour now. All right, beautiful people. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. It is Monday, November the 15th, 2021, day 302 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 970. We read Psalms 91 through 103, and we read chapter. What chapter? I keep forgetting right chapter 2. Chapter 9. Chapter 9 in Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, starting on page 209 to page 236. I'm going to remember put the Merchant of Venus, that link if you want to watch that. Merchant of Venus. And Christy, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm going to email that to you as soon as we get off of here today. I thought about it again when you came in earlier. So I'm going to send that to you in a few minutes. All right, beautiful people. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. Should I call Bella? Bella! I barely say it, but come on!
Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do
Girl, I
it.
barely yelled your name. And it sounded like you was on my side of the bed.
No, I was eating cereal up there.
You were eating cereal up there. What did I say you? Didn't I say you not to take that bowl upstairs?
Zay went upstairs and Josh went upstairs.
Did they have bowls too? All right, let's hear from Ines because I'm going to get everybody. All right. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, starting at verse 22, all the way to the end of the chapter, verse 27. The Nazarite vow is the first 21 verses of this same chapter, Numbers chapter 6. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts and guarding us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people.
Look at my eyelashes.
I know. You need to back up because you need to put some Carmex on your lips, sis. Don't nobody want to see crusty lips first thing in the morning.
I just want to know.
Nobody want to see crusty lips at all. Morning, noon, or evening. Yes, you're getting big. Thank you, Christina.
There's no Christy up here.
Christina says she is so beautiful. Say thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Christina.
Okay, y'all. That's it. Let us go ahead and get out of here. See y'all tomorrow.
Mommy.
Bright and early. 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead and end it.
Who just gave you this?
Christina, she giving you hearts.
Huh?
She giving you hearts. Say thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Okay, in this one.
Okay.
Go ahead, in that one.
No.
Okay, yep, hit that. Okay, now go ahead, in this one. Bye, y'all. Joy said, bye, Bella.